Welcome back to Conservative American Predictions. Today we're going to be discussing how the state of Nevada will be voting in both the 2024 presidential election and their Senate election. So, we're going to first talk about the presidential election, as it is by far the more important of the two, and it's by far going to be the closer race. So, as of now, if you don't already know, I do have Kamala Harris narrowly favored in the state. So, this would give her 247 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 291. However, if we take away the states I have not talked about yet in this series, then Trump is at 270, Harris is at 232. So, technically, it could become a 268 270 win. Also, just because I'm saying that this is how a state is going to vote does not mean this is how I'm locking in the state before the election. Don't worry, I still have several more predictions coming out, several more, several different predictions where things could change, states could flip. This is by far not a final prediction. But as of now, I do have Nevada going tilt Democrat, and when you add the other states that I do expect Kamala Harris and Donald Trump both win, states like Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona, Wisconsin and Arizona for Trump, Michigan for Harris, again, that brings it to 291 to 247. But now we're going to talk about specifically Nevada and how I expect it to vote. This here is the county map for the state. As you can see, it is a margin of D plus 0.44%, or roughly about 6,000 votes. So this is the county map again. As you can see here, there is overall a pretty nice shift towards Donald Trump in most areas, including Reno, which barely shifts in his favor, and that's only because Republicans have been doing very, very well in the early vote so far, which I could completely see this shifting to the left. I literally only have it shifting right by about 0.12%, so it's really not that large of a shift. So again, a very narrow shift, but here is the overall shift map of the state. Right here you can see states like counties like Carson City, they are shifting a little bit to the left. It's actually the only county that did shift to the left. It's one of the ones that definitely did in 2020. And Republicans are struggling there. It's a pretty suburban area, and that's why Reno, Washoe County, which houses Reno, the city, that I totally expect it could shift to the left. I think Reno will, however, or at least the suburban areas of Reno, and I expect some of the other areas within Washoe County to kind of trend against it, which is why it's a narrow shift overall to the right. And then where Trump really improves is in Clark County, where, as you can see here, went from a 9.5% margin to about a 6.9% margin. So a nice drop off, a nice improvement for Donald Trump. This is what helped him improve in the state, albeit very narrowly, in 2020, and what could almost give him the state again this year. If he would do basically any better in this county, he would definitely carry the state of Nevada. As this is the county where I believe it's around 80% of the state's population lives. So don't quote me on that exactly, but I believe it's something around there. So a very important county in Nevada politics. And again, as you can see, a pretty narrow likely win for Kamala Harris out of that county. And then overall, a safe or a tilt win for Kamala Harris. So this was the county map back in 2020. As you can see here, basically the same county map. However, Washoe, it's still the same margin, shifts to the right. Carson City shifts to the left, and Clark County shifts to the right. Now, if you go back to 2016, it is still basically the same county map. There's just some marginal differences. So overall, not that big of a deal. But then you go to 538. This is what their forecast is for the state. As you can see here, Trump is favored 52 out of 100 times according to 538, which is interesting. This is a state I do disagree with, and I think they're overestimating Trump in. As you can see here, they have him up by about 0.2% or 0.3% according to their full forecast. So not a horrible overestimation. I think according to my forecast, according to my prediction here, I disagree with them by about 0.7 to 0.8%. So overall, not horrible, but that is a state I do disagree with. So, again, overall on the presidential level, a tilt Democratic rating. Now for the Senate map, as you can see here, Republicans start out with 49 seats to the Democrats' 45 seats. And right off the bat, you can see that Nevada is one of these, which is not necessarily the case toss-up wise, as the other 5 states are ones that I do believe will be under 5 points. However, Nevada, since it's the subject of this video, it's still not filled out. I expect it to be a somewhat close win, but it's still going to be a likely state for the Democrat Jackie Rosen, meaning Democrats get 46 seats, I'm sorry, Republicans narrowly hold Nebraska, they narrowly hold Texas, they narrowly flip Ohio, and then Democrats narrowly hold Wisconsin and Michigan, meaning the Senate is 48-52. Now, just to talk about kind of my prediction for Nevada, like the exact margin. As you can see here, this is the forecast from 538. This is what they expect it to be. Give me a minute to pull it up. In 2018, the current incumbent, Jackie Rosen, did unseat the incumbent Republican, and it was a blue wave, but she unseated the Republican by a little over 5 points. So it was a pretty narrow win, but that was still a flip in a blue wave year in a state that Hillary won by less than half of that. So clearly she is, pretty strong candidate. As you can see here, the full forecast has it around 7.6%, and Brown has really been doing pretty poorly. The poll averages, I think, have him down by 8 to 9%, so really a pretty weak candidate. But there is still a chance that Republicans could pull a bit of an upset and get this race closer, maybe under 5 points. I think that's more of a better case scenario for them right now. However, I don't think it's going to be this large of a margin for the incumbent Jackie Rosen. So anyways, this is the Senate map back in 2018. So again, she won by a pretty decent margin for a non-incumbent. However, again, blue wave year, so that doesn't mean everything. But you go back to 2018, and you have Jackie Rosen up by 5. And I apologize, I don't think I can pull up a county map. However, it was somewhat similar to this county map, just a couple of different margins to an extent. So as you can see here, pretty different than the presidential map right off the bat. In the rurals, a pretty noticeable trend. It's, definitely different. And then in the suburban areas of the Washoe County and Carson City area, of course, you see more shift towards the Democrat. And this isn't necessarily because, Sam Brown is such a weak candidate, which, yeah, that partially is true. However, Rosen is a pretty strong candidate as well and will do well here. And again, if it was another candidate who who had the issues of Sam Brown and who would campaign a little better, also who would not have there's just some unfortunate things working against Sam Brown, which I don't like discussing because, it might not be true, but there has to be something kind of going for his poor performance. So just do a little research into him, and you should find it. But with that causing a lot of problems, if you'd have another candidate similar to Brown with the same background, same positions, they would do very well in these areas. However, unfortunately for Sam Brown, he is not doing that. And then in Clark County, the largest county in the state, again, when it comes to population, as you can see here, I have Jackie Rosen winning by almost 13 points, and that's what gives her the 5.9% victory in the state. So that is an increase of margin from 2018, despite it being a very close fought race at the top of the ticket. So again, that is a likely win on the Senate level, bringing Democrats to 48 seats, Republicans to 52. Now for the seats I have not talked about yet, those being Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Arizona. Technically, it's 45-51, but some of them are pretty expected to go for either party. They're, the most close of those, Ohio, and then there's a couple others that are interesting. But again, overall, it brings the Senate to 48-52. So I hope you did enjoy this video discussing how Nevada will vote in 2024. Comment down below your predictions for the state and who you expect to win both the Senate and presidential races overall. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.